On March 10, 2024, Robert Downey Jr. stepped up to the microphone inside the Dolby Theater to accept the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor for his role in Oppenheimer. Exactly 24 years earlier, his reality looked entirely different. He was assigned California Department of Corrections inmate number P50522, earning 8 cents an hour scrubbing scorched pizza pans at the Corcoran State Prison. A biography that begins with a generational acting prodigy and descends into a state prison cell requires an examination of the documented facts and the personal discipline behind his eventual return. The arc of his career is built on a dark, mathematically improbable, and grueling 20-year maintenance of himself against the biological machinery of self-destruction. His origin in 1970s New York involved a domestic ecosystem where his father normalized drug use as a form of emotional bonding. By the early 1990s, his extraordinary intellectual bandwidth allowed him to memorize complex scripts and earn Academy Award nominations, even as his private domestic life reached a catastrophic breaking point. This archival document shows how the line between his talent and dependency dissolved. Reflecting on his addict role in the 1987 film Less Than Zero, Downey described the performance as the ghost of Christmas future, a harrowing preview of his looming reality. Looking at this documented chronology from 1996 to 2001, we see the raw data of a relentless cycle. Multiple arrests, missed court-ordered drug screenings, and unauthorized walkouts from rehabilitation centers proved that his raw talent could no longer outpace his illness. This record details his 1999 sentencing to a high-security California state prison facility, where he faced routine physical violence and gang dynamics without any special dispensation for his celebrity status. Public observers often framed his downfall as a choice or a waste of potential. However, the clinical analysis suggests he was enduring a severe neurological hijack of his brain's mesolimbic dopamine pathway. Returning to Hollywood in 2001, he was bankrupt, divorced, and facing absolute industry exile. This archive explains the core economic barrier, the insurance impasse. Studios require financial completion bonds, but underwriters classified Downey as a catastrophic liability. Hollywood runs on actuarial risk tables. This reality caused his immediate termination from Ally McBeal in 2001, leaving him completely uninsurable. The difficulty of recovery lay in the physiology of relapse. Chronic narcotics abuse fundamentally damages the brain's mesolimbic pathway. Over time, the brain downsizes dopamine receptors, which turns sobriety into acute physiological panic and despair. Because willpower is a finite cognitive resource, surviving this state required a complete restructuring of his environment, martial arts discipline, and structural accountability from allies. In July 2003, at a Burger King overlooking the Pacific Coast Highway in Malibu, the sheer exhaustion of his double life struck him with enough clarity to check himself into a final rehabilitation program. He replaced his willpower with a sobriety ecosystem, daily physical discipline through Wing Chun Kung Fu, intensive therapy, and absolute accountability to producer Susan Levin, who became the stabilizing anchor of his professional life. This document shows how getting back into Hollywood required someone else to take a personal financial risk. Mel Gibson personally underwrote Downey's insurance bond for the 2003 film The Singing Detective, using his own assets as collateral. Cothaying production on schedule, followed by his brilliant work in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, provided the data risk assessors needed to see that he was dependable again. His return to employability was built upon a rigid, daily adherence to clinical and professional accountability. In 2006, Marvel Studios mortgaged its entire remaining comic catalog to secure a $525 million revolving credit facility. The studio's board of directors initially rejected director Jon Favreau's insistence on casting a former uninsurable liability to anchor their flagship investment. Downey responded by delivering a formal screen test with effortless authority, which silenced studio executives and secured him the role of Tony Stark. Marvel Studios invested in a man who had already endured the ultimate stress test and successfully rebuilt his own internal foundation. The popular Hollywood mythology suggests that donning the iron armor of Tony Stark magically saved Robert Downey Jr.'s life. The fictional character only resonated globally because Downey infused it with the grueling, hard-won survival architecture he built in the real world. Looking at his Oscar win, This American Film Institute archive summarizes the truth of his trajectory. His story illustrates the unglamorous 20-year maintenance required to survive the biological machinery of self-destruction. The final coronation of his career is defined by the discipline to maintain an ironclad internal architecture every single day.